hope you can see me. I can't see any one of you. Yeah. All right. I hope you enjoyed the lunch. Yeah. All right. And I know the thing is right after lunch, all of us go through this period where we, start to feel sleepy. But I just want to tell you that the session that is right ahead of us will keep all of you awake, right? So I want to welcome each and every one of you to this focus group. We have two focus groups happening simultaneously. One group with the YouthNet, and we have this, a big group here with Dr. Sao Tunyi. I got to know Dr. Sao way back in 2009. That was the year I went up to Delhi as the chaplain of the Chakasang Fellowship, Delhi. Straight out of college with no ministry experience, but that was the task that was given to me, and I went up to Delhi, and that's the first time I met Dr. Sao. And he is one of those people, who have come forward, with so much encouragement, to help me and to assist me in the ministry. It was a very new ministry that, started in 2009, with our Chakasang community. And, that is how I, met him, and I still remember, the way he has come forward to, help and assist, the encouragement that he has given, the help that he has offered. And he has been an integral part of, the Chakasang Fellowship Delhi ministry. So, people like Dr. Sao, I always remember them, even, to this day. And so it's my privilege to take this time to introduce him, to all of us. Just to let you know that Dr. Sao is a medical doctor, by profession, medical doctor. So he has been in the medical field for, about 12 years. And just a few years ago, I heard that he was transitioning, transitioning from being a medical doctor to becoming any guesses? Yeah, farmer. Now, I was thinking, oh, that's a huge, transition that somebody is making. But not what all of us would expect, right? A medical doctor turning into a farmer. And yet here is a good example of someone, who is following his dreams. Dr. Nisa, we used to talk a lot, and he would say, Ukraine taza, jo, lisipi mozesa, na, hakasemichi mozesa, tutekuchimichi doho. Right? You see the negative connotation that is attached to farming, right? Hakasemichi mozesa, na, but we have Dr. Sao today. Yeah, he's a doctor. But he's also following his dream of becoming a farmer. Lord, let this come as an encouragement for all of us. We are molded into this thinking that government job is everything. Government job that is nothing. But Dr. Sao is here to, and I'm sure that all of us will be motivated today, challenged today. As we listen to his story, as we listen to his share of struggles, perhaps, challenges, joys, in the process of, pursuing his dreams. So if I keep talking, I'll keep talking. So I think I need to stop, and I'll give, time to Dr. Sao. He will come up here, and he's someone, in our word we have that, no. He will not say things, he's not an impulsive guy. He will take time to think, process. So even in his farming, he's doing exactly that. He's not just blindly going to the jungle and starting a farm, but he's doing his own research, and just experimenting with a lot of things. So I tell you, we're going to learn a lot of things today. And hopefully, his story will inspire, some of us here in this hall, this afternoon. Maybe deep down, you're thinking, I want also, I also want to be a farmer. But where do I start? Where do I take the leap of faith? Maybe you're confused, you're not sure. Maybe today is the day, that you get your answers. All right, so Dr. Sao, we're glad to have you here with us this afternoon, and we're looking forward to hearing from you, your story, your experiences, and looking forward to learning a lot from you. Before you take your time, on behalf of the youth department, we want to offer you a small gift as a way of saying thank you for being here. Yeah, so if you can kindly come up. Yeah. Okay, so I give the rest of the time to Dr. Sao Tunyi.
It's a privilege for me to be here. My opening line was already stolen. Yes, the moderator had already stolen my opening line. I hope the presentation is loaded. Yeah, okay. I am so happy to be here, and I have on occasions spoken about farming to groups of people, and some of the occasions are when I speak to farmers who are already farmers. But if I were to choose, who do you like to speak to the most, then I would choose this occasion, which we have today. I thank God for this opportunity for the Youth Department of CBC MH, Kohima, for this privilege. I have not been long, it has not been long since I switched career to this new profession, and therefore to come as a resource person or to speak on this subject is something which is, I feel I am not up to the task yet. And if I look at my own experience, which I have had, then I have not come up to that stage where I have had success to show in the sense of like being a prosperous farmer, so to say. But even within and along this journey, I did not have any second thought in saying yes to this invitation, because I, in the course of my presentation, would say that this is the best time. The time has never been better for us to go into farming. And I hope that will come out and will challenge perhaps many of you to expect all of us to become farmer. It's not my expectation, and it's not for everyone, of course. But I hope that even though this may not be your profession or your profession for the future, perhaps there are principles, there are nuggets here and there which would apply across disciplines. And if we have an open mind, there is no person from whom we cannot learn. So that attitude of having an open mind, and also a mind which is working as you are listening and you are contextualizing to your situation. So that kind of mindset is important to enable anyone to learn from anyone. The next slide, please. Okay. The outline which I want to have for this presentation today. First, I want to share about our farm, our family farm which we have. The topic which Rakodu and I discussed and agreed upon is something which is slightly forced into me. And while I was preparing, I was thankful that he won me over, and it forced me to think. And this diversified family farm, which we are practicing, I have not, so to say, prepared in this way whenever I spoke before, and therefore I had a kind of set presentation which on the different occasions I would reproduce the same. But a little forced on me on this topic, it helped me to appreciate more and to make me to rethink about what I'm actually doing myself. So that is about the Providence Garden, which we call our farm. I will also speak about regenerative agriculture, the buzzword or the in thing about agriculture these days. So we know that agriculture is also a source of environmental pollution, degradation, and climate change. Many things are because we are exploiting nature. Agriculture, which is one of the main causes for this exploitation. Therefore, this regenerative agriculture is a response to that, where we talk about taking care of nature, but at the same time, taking care of the economic need of the farmer, the profitability, the sustainability, which we will hopefully see. Next, I want to challenge you. We think that the grass is greener on the other side, that the situation is not just right, that the other people have more, they have better situation, or that we are always in a kind of disadvantage. But in this section, I want to say that the grass on your side has never been greener to take up farming. Lastly, I would like to help us to ponder about this whole profession of farming, that from being a profession which is associated with backwardness, lack of hygiene, poverty, low social status, it could perhaps be an attractive career option for our future generations, and that this could be a viable career option as well. So those reflections we will see in the later part. Next. So our Providence Garden, the family farm, we are located between Kikruma village and Fitsero on the mountain top. So it was established in 2011. It's a family farm, a joint family farm. The altitude is around 1,800 to 2,000 meters. So the highest point is similar to Fitsero town, main center. Around that altitude is there. So it's in a cold place. It's on a mountain, about 7 kilometers from Fitsero. A diversified family farm. When we say diversified family farm, diversified in the sense of not having a monocrop or like a single thing. So here we can talk about when we talk about diversified farm or a family farm, we can talk about, say, a kind of farming which suits your belief or your ideology or your way of thinking. So if we talk about a diversified family farm, then it can be also thought in the way of like, okay, I am not bound by a system. I value my freedom, my time, and I believe that the food that I eat should be healthy, that I have control over what I eat, or that I have self-sufficiency, self-sustenance. And if we take into the extreme, some would even think of, say, going off-grid, not to communicate with people, to escape from people or society. But it can also be thought in the way of like, okay, that independence, that freedom that you would desire. A diversified family farm also is, when we talk about the size, it's not big, that you do it with a lot of employees, as far as the eyes can see, just growing one thing. But it's a small farm which is nimble-feeded and can say, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. So if one thing fails, the other is there. And because the scale is not too large, you can manage and you can adjust as per the, say, market forces or whatever you would transition to you have that ability. A diversified family farm mimics nature. So it's diversified. And we see that when we talk about farming and talk about monoculture, that's not how nature works. That nature is not just one thing, but it's so diverse. And therefore, we are mimicking nature when we talk about a diversified family farm. And here we are talking about family, kind of community, which is also valued in that ecosystem. So we're talking about people's needs, relationships, and which also has its own challenges. Even in my own, our own setup, that the generational clashes which do happen. So that's a part of the diversified farm which we have. And in our farm, we have 4 major components. 5, but the 5th one, because we had too much in our hands happening and we were just not able to keep up. So the Floriculture, which we so much enjoyed, we are keeping it on hold. Next. So we have a fruit orchard where we have persimmon and kiwi. We do have an experimental orchard, a small portion which we are experimenting this and that. But basically, we have a persimmon and kiwi orchard. So why persimmon and kiwi? Or if you want to take up farming, the crop selection is very important. One is, what is there in your hands? What has God given you? That we have to think about as we set forth, right? So we have chosen persimmon and kiwi because the place was suitable for that. The type of land which we have was suitable for that. If we are growing for our own consumption and we are not thinking of selling, then we can grow what we love to eat. But if we are growing for the market, we have to grow what will sell. Now, when we think about the farmers which we have in our district, Phek district, we see that many would blindly farm because, okay, they got 50 lemon saplings from the department and therefore they are having a lemon farm now. Or maybe because other people are doing so, I'm doing so, okay, I have 15 plum trees. But when we talk about 15 plum trees, it's too much for the family, too less for the market. And so we think about the rate, the shelf life, all these things. And so for our situation, we used to hear that some people, they want to do farming in Jalukya side or Dimapur. And when we talk about Dimapur, then of course the favorite which people do is that Tamul Guti, right? Because it sells. Now, for crop selection, if I were to do, say, plum, or if I were to do, say, mango, for example, then what grows well in Dimapur, Assam, if I were to do the same in Fuzero and try to compete, then I will never win. Because those people who have that nearness to the market, if I were to start from Fuzero and compete with them, I will never win. But persimmon and kiwi are crops which people in Assam or Dimapur cannot grow. And therefore, those things are also coming into play here as we think about crop selection. We started with persimmon and kiwi, and we find that there are a lot of things which work in this favor. For example, kiwi. One district, one product. Phek district, kiwi. And therefore, that message, that promotion, that advertisement is so crucial for any crop selection. And therefore, persimmon, it started well, but now, like kiwi, demand for kiwi has really gone up in Phek district. and people are doing very well. So kiwi plantations have so much increased, even in Phek district. Our market so far is persimmon is local, but kiwi, the market has become very good, and this is something for you to consider if you are having land in Phek district, that if you want to go for commercial horticulture, then kiwi is a very attractive option, because now, like last year, farmers don't even bring to Kohima because everything is sold from Fitzroy itself. And the number of buyers which have come, that the farmers are able to negotiate prices even. So that situation is there now in our Phek district. And it has become really like favorable for kiwi farming in the district. Next one. We have a plant nursery. Plant nursery, how I started was in Kohima. It was in 2015, I think. I went to a neighbor's place and took cuttings of that bougainvillea, that thorny plant bush. I took a few cuttings asking from a neighbor. I put it in a poly bag, and when it took root and it was blooming, I sold it to a florist in near the Sanuri Bridge here in Kohima. And I was surprised by the margin. Poly bag, not even 10 paisa. If we talk about, if you buy per kg. Soil was free, the cutting was free, and then when it was blooming, 100 rupees per poly bag. So I was amazed by the margin which I was receiving, and therefore next year I did it again. And then I also, over the years, have found that persimmon nursery, for example, in Tipuzu village, the youth there, in the festival time, Sekreni festival time, they don't even celebrate. That's what I heard, that the youths are busy grafting. And therefore, when the time comes for selling in May, June, then I heard that even the youths, like they have lakhs of money in their pocket. So nursery is an enjoyable and a profitable venture, which now even in Kohima also, we do have examples, like there are media coverages of people doing well through succulents or like ornamental shrubs, flowers. This fruit trees, nurseries and so on. So nursery, that's what we are also into. Next. Okay, it's not yet loaded, but the next one which we have is honeybee. So beekeeping. Beekeeping is a venture which is which one of the most promising as a kind of additional project to whatever you are doing when it comes to farming, that it is a useful add-on. Some people could perhaps go into it full-time also. And here, this is where even women, there are a lot of women beekeepers across the world. And this is an activity which does not require much physical stress. You are not feeding the bees. The first initial investment is on making the boxes and getting the bees. But there are alternative ways to move around this initial hurdle also, that it can be reared in different types of containers, traditional ways, and improvised boxes which we can make. The bees also, once you are into it for some time, then to multiply, to rear queen even is not difficult. So I attended a import-export training in Kolkata, Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, which was sponsored by IDAN. Honey, Nagaland honey is one of the most, precious, one of the most valued products. And it is at par with the best in the world because of the type of flora which we have. And when we talk about Phek district, then the hot biodiversity hotspot which we are in. And therefore, this honey, I can't stress enough on how important it is. We hear of people in Chozuba area also where they are earning lakhs per year from honey alone. And not only honey, but other byproducts like wax and pollen. All these things are also there. They say that, and we have not ventured into this yet. For honey, there's no expiry date if it is harvested when it's matured. When it's properly harvested, there's no expiry date. The rate is really good. And the market, the production cannot meet the demand. And therefore, this beekeeping, if some of you, if are interested, then you can tag along and we can do it together. It's really, really exciting. And the best part of it is that it's so good for your mental health. You know, when you are with the bees, no, then you get lost in it because, and in the US also, this is a part of mental health therapy for first responders like firefighters, war veterans. They are given free training on beekeeping as a way of mental health treatment. So true, because when you are with the bees, then when you are tensed, when you are anxious, you pass it on to the bees. When you are gentle, when you are quiet, the bees reciprocate. And that fear of being stung, also, it excites in a different way, in a strange way. Yes, and if you are fearful of being stung, we do have all these gowns from head to toe, and it's safe. Once you have gotten over this initial hurdle, then I tell you, there's no turning back. It pulls you in. Yeah, next one. Then we do have a poultry operation. Last year, we did this processed poultry, where we package them and put in cold storage. And when the time comes, we harvest them and sell. Why poultry? Because, and why broiler? Last year, because of the quick turnover. There is no marketing, there's no farming activity, which gives you returns in 6 weeks. But broiler steak can give you the returns in 7-week average. 6 to 9 weeks they can give you. The cash flow, which we talk about in business, that the flow of money in and out, which is vital for any business enterprise. This venture provides that, and also therefore this is very important. And when we talk about chicken, why chicken and not other meat? We talk about, say, chickenization of the US. That's the word is there. And when we talk about meat consumed across the world, of course, for us Nagas, pork, we say pork. But when we think about the day-to-day normal meat, the average meat, then it is the chicken actually. And now the fear of it being unhealthy for you, the bazaar conventional chicken. And therefore, to find an alternative to that and enter that segment where you don't compete with the bazaar, but also a comfortable price point where you are not too costly like the local chicken, but it still is healthy for you. That kind of alternative we try to go in. So that's a part of our Yeah, one component which we have. Next one. Floriculture, we tried for a couple of years, and we found it to be very interesting. And this floriculture has been picking up even in our state. You all are aware of it. The expendable income which people have now, that someone would buy flowers, cut flowers, and take home. Not to give to a VIP during a special occasion, but for the pleasure of it, to take it home, to put it on a vase and enjoy at home. That culture has now picked up even in our state. And the ladies here would agree with me. And when we think of the potential which we have, that the favorable climate which we have, that this Western country flowers for cut flower, which are favorable, say, for example, in the Netherlands or like UK, which we can also grow in this kind of climatic situation which we have. We talk about the Mao people who are even exporting to the Middle East the flowers. Okay, dried flower also, fresh flower also. And these fresh flowers which we have in Kohima, which are being brought from Bangalore, traveling thousands of miles. So the potential is really there for us to feed the local market and also to export, to take it to the national level as well. So this is something which I would love to return to, but for now, I mean, our hands are full. So hopefully one day again to floriculture. Next. So I want to talk about this regenerative agriculture. As I mentioned before, many people don't like agriculture because of how it's affecting climate change, how it pollutes the water, the soil, and how we are exploiting nature. Deforestation, our soils are being harmed by the pesticides and chemical fertilizers. When we talk about labor also, the farmer suicide, talk about a farmer in India, average, then they are in distress, protesting, trying to march to Delhi. So it's not a rosy and a kind of romantic profession that we have about farming in India. Now, in the face of this, we have like sustainable agriculture or organic farming. These things are there as a way of saying, okay, we produce food which is good for your health, or that we are not harming nature. Regenerative agriculture is one such approach which has come to the forefront. Even companies like Nestle or multinational companies in the West, they now want to brand themselves as practicing regenerative agriculture. And therefore, what is this? Regeneration. So regenerative agriculture is basically about working along with nature and trying to improve it, trying to revive it, trying to restore it, rather than to pollute or to exploit. So soil health, taking care of the soil and the water, these are so important even for our context. We may be thinking, oh, we really have a fertile soil and our mountains, the streams flow down our mountains and we live in that pristine environment. Well, actually, when we go to your villages and to the mountains, we see that things are changing so much. See, when we deforest and we let the sun hit directly on the soil surface, the grip on the soil is loosened. And when we till it for farming and the rain comes, then the topsoil is being washed away and they flow into the ocean, right? Our topsoils are being washed away. Developmental activities of soil compaction, where we dig a road and then the soil becomes compacted. Now, instead of seeping into the soil, the water runoff because our terrains are hilly as well. So there could come a time when, who knows, if we are not careful, we can have rocky mountains without vegetation, or spring water flowing out of mountains and flowing down across our villages and towns. That could be all in danger if we are not careful. Regenerative agriculture here now takes care of the tries to take care of the soil health. So to try to till as less as possible. In our dialect, farming means tillage. Ite means to till, to break the soil. But when you break the soil, then inside the balance is all lost. Now, therefore, to not till and to grow food seems like something which is impossible, but that has been now addressed by this, where we have permaculture, no till, minimal till kind of farming. So about the soil cover also, where we have kind of cover crops or mulching. No? Mulching is something which can be practiced in a small scale as well as in a large scale. Mulching is basically when you're growing vegetables or fruits, then the shredded leaves or branches which covers the soil, and therefore even if you don't water inside, when you open the mulch, it is still moist inside. And when this mulch breaks down, it improves the soil fertility. So mulching is something which we all must try, even if we have a kitchen garden. And then crop rotation, right? Where you don't grow one thing in one spot all the time, especially when you are having vegetable garden. So, like for example, if you grow peas in winter, it adds nitrogen to the soil, and therefore the following season when you grow other vegetables, that rotation is there. Then the soil fertility is intact. It continues to stay. Or as I was talking about biodiversity, that you don't grow just one, but you grow multiple types of food crops and also introduce animals, so that there is that natural cycle which is being preserved even as you farm. So those are also very much a key component of principle of this regenerative agriculture. Rotational grazing is something which is very, very attractive actually. So rotational grazing is where, because when you just leave cattle into the similar as a spot, it'll eat up the vegetation there and will not allow them to come up again. Because when you repeatedly graze in one area, you can desertify even that place. But rotational grazing is where you have controlled grazing, where if you have a spot, you divide it into multiple segments. Therefore, when one area is being grazed, say if it is chicken on pasture or cows or goat, then that area is being grazed. Now, when it is completely grazed, you allow that spot to recover by going to the next, going to the next, to the next. And then once you return to the initial spot, you find it even better than before. This concept of rotational grazing is also an important part of regenerative agriculture. And this regenerative agriculture talks about holistic approach. You take care of nature, but also in this system we take care of, or we try to address the human need as well. So profitability or continuity about human relations, these are also being addressed in this system of farming. Now here, when you talk about organic farming, for example, then you are not allowed to use anything, right? And therefore, chemicals. And therefore, when we talk about organic farming in Nagaland context, our farmers do not have access to these biofertilizers, biopesticides, and therefore the products which they would have if they repeatedly farm will really, the quality would go down. It will not be good looking. You cannot compete with the other products in the market. So a kind of system, this binds you, that you cannot become profitable. Whereas some other big companies, they can do organic farming because they have the means, they have the capital, they have the access to all these biofertilizers and pesticides. But when we talk about regenerative agriculture, we are not bound by this. Here we talk about, okay, if this is being used responsibly, we can use it. This kind of chemicals, if we use it and within its prescribed limit, we also take care of the profitability of the farmer while taking care of the ecology. So this regenerative agriculture, whether in large scale or small scale, is something which we must address and we must transition to if we are to continually farm. Next. So when we talk about sustainable agriculture, then sustainable agriculture, the word sustain is to continue the existing. But a third of the world's cultivated lands are already depleted. And therefore, to continue that is not applicable anymore. It's already depleted, a third of the world's cultivated land. Therefore, we must go beyond sustainable to restore, to make it better than when we saw it. Now, this is interesting because, see, in rocky mountains up on a high desert, we see inspiring stories of a lone farmer who is turning it into a forest again while cultivating it. Or we talk about pushing back desert, where we have the green belt across the African, the Sahara Desert we see. So this talks about restoring and improving on what we have. Our land, we say, is still fertile. Now here I'll speak about the land which we have, okay? The land for, perhaps I'll keep that for challenges on land. Okay, I don't have land, I want to farm, but I don't have land. That land is an important issue here, so I'll address that when we go there. But it goes beyond organic farming as well. That it's not just about don't use this, don't use that, but it's about having a diversity as we would find in nature. Okay, next one. Now I want to encourage you. Okay, I want to encourage you to take up farming. Perhaps many of you. See, we have heard, I don't know if your parents have told you that if you don't study hard, you will look after cows. You'll become a farmer. But the time has now come when we need to study hard, we need to get a proper education, and then we use that to take care of cows, to farm, not in the way as our forefathers would do in the past. That they would struggle, because by example, if we look at it, it's not an attractive career option for any of us. right now. But we could be the generation when this is rethought, like, oh, really? And then make a different path for our future generations. And you all have heard and you all have seen that during the COVID-19 pandemic, what was the thinking of the people when they talk about food? Suddenly, because of lockdown, food is not available. Now, who suffered more? People in the towns or in the villages? And as a result of that, paddy fields which have been lying abandoned have been cultivated again. Kitchen gardens have come up. And people who were in office, they now are finally at home, caught up, and they cannot go back to work. And it made them to rethink about their lives. What this is all about, okay? Family life and the type of society that we are, where we are actually prisoners, right? That we don't have freedom, but we are prisoners of a system. That has been rethought when we talk about the pandemic. Now things have kind of gone back to some extent, but still that wave is there. When we think about the global phenomenon, that there was the great resignation, right? When people are called back to office, but they don't want to go anymore, right? So, and they want to take their life into their own hands, in the sense of like they want to have more control of their lives, how they live. Okay, next. So, what has God put in your hands? What type of land, in what type of land has God placed you on this earth? If Nagaland were situated in a seashore, by the seashore, okay? What do you think will be the main occupation of the Nagas? If Nagaland were located in a seashore, perhaps many of us would be fishermen, right? Now, in what type of land has God put us? And what are our dreams and aspirations for our livelihood? Has God put us something and we run after something else? Or has God put something in our hands and we are stewarding it? We are multiplying it. We are subduing the earth through it. When we think about this, then, okay, competitive exams. Sure, we need to compete with the outside world. The world is going so fast, we have to compete with them. But what about also going back to our own native villages and towns and then try to do something with what is being given to us and our forefathers? So, when we talk about employment opportunities in Nagaland, tertiary sector, going to office, getting salary, whether public or private. In public, okay, Nagaland, the highest percentage of government employees in the country, talking about downsizing now, and that it is being already oversaturated. Private sector, very limited scope for employment, white-collar job. Industrial sector, factories to work there and by employing thousands and thousands of people. When we think of the future scope of that, then we do not see much hope, right? Primary sector, farming, agriculture, fishing, forestry, not very attractive. So how do we go about, right? Next. So there is a newfound zeal and interest in farming that we do experience. And in my own personal experience also, when I talk about my transition and then what I'm doing, although it's in a very limited way, a personal experience, but I often get messages from even so-called government officers who are having a good position. They say, you are living my dream. But whereas we want to be in that position, right? We want to be in the government sector. We want to have a good salary where we don't have much work and I get good pay, that we are secure. But when we think of the job satisfaction, whether you are really alive or not in that government office, whether it gives you the thrills to go to office every morning, every Monday morning, or when we talk about, honestly speaking, the ability to earn wealth, to live a luxurious life, if you were to be truly honest, then what is the likelihood that your salary can earn you wealth, which will make you a rich person? No? So, taking all this into consideration, see, we are at a stage where this farming can be a game changer in terms of employment. Moses was asked, what is in your hands? No? And he had a staff, right? Because he looked after animals. When we talk about what is in your hands, what has God placed us with, or what resources, then we look around us and we see all these natural resources that are there. The type of society that we are put in. And when we talk about abundance, then what do you see around you? The climatic condition. So climatic condition, when I talk about farming, our district especially, where I say our competitors are not Assam or mainland India, but Uttarakhand, Himachal. And therefore I say, I want to go for exposure tour to Uttarakhand, Himachal, because they have similar climatic condition to us. And those are our competitors. See, we have an advantage being here, enjoying this type of climatic condition. One of the most encouraging and a factor which has opened the door wide open for us to do farming for business is this road connectivity. Perhaps the government of India did not have us in mind when they built this. Maybe there is a military or political drive which made them to construct two-lane road to Avakung, for example, or across our districts, all these things. But to reap this harvest in a sense of taking advantage of this for farming. That connectivity now with mainland India, and also the market, for example, e-commerce, or this cargo, no? Trains and trucks, or even ports, which are coming up in the northeast. Dry port already in Guwahati, and seaport not far from Mizoram. So these things are coming up, and now it's a very, very good time to be connected to the global market. Online resources which now make us capable of farming without going to have a university degree. YouTube or this e-books, government websites having their scheme guidelines all open into public. These things which would enable you to do farming, even though you may say, I don't have a green thumb, which is actually not true, that anyone can take up farming if there is interest, because of all these resources which we have. And also, as I was talking about the new models of agriculture which we have now. So, without polluting the environment, instead, to take care of God's creation, to steward God's creation, to make it even better than it was, which is to redeem the redemption of the cosmos or new creation. It's an exciting time now to be in farming. Next. So there are different models of farming. Perhaps I should run a little bit here. Okay, you don't want to become a farmer for business or as a kind of profession. But still, every one of us here can grow our own food in containers, in terrace, in the backyard. So this kitchen garden, which now everybody must have, where in a limited space by square foot gardening, where each square foot is being utilized, where you have your kitchen waste which go back into improving the soil, where you can go up if you cannot go in space horizontally, you can go vertically to have vertical gardens. All these things. And we talk about our health, that when you have your kitchen garden, then it improves your health physically, but also mentally as you do gardening, because gardening is therapy. And you may say, okay, this is not commercial, but actually you are your assured customer if you have a kitchen garden. Next. Now, to grow for the wholesale market. So it is to grow in large quantities so that you can pass it on through the conventional supply, the sabji mandi. Here you can specialize in one thing and you can grow that for trading with the outside world. But here, as I was talking about, we talk about the environmental concern. And here also, we talk about like pests and diseases which are prone if you grow only one type of crop. But even here, there's a potential. I will speak to that later. Next one. Okay, direct to customer. No? So here, you are a farmer, but you don't have a middleman. And therefore here, you have a higher margin because you are selling it directly to the customer. Here, you can have a diversified products where you sell one thing in season, the other thing in the other season. And you can make use of like this e-commerce platform or like a farmer's market, for example, a bazaar. Or if a highway passed through your place, then to have a kind of farm stand. So we have like Losami Junction or Silonyijan, no? Certain hotspots when certain places where travelers stop for buying food. Or if you have a weekly bazaar here, to take advantage of that, to grow, but also to sell by yourself, where you have a higher margin. This also is one of the models, and we also do this. But it also is time consuming because you have to grow, you have to package, transport, market, all by yourself. And therefore, the farmer has to wear so many hats. Yeah, next. Now, challenges. But I don't have land. No? Now I'll tell you about our district specifically. See, in many villages, there are people who say, I want to farm, but I don't have land. And this is an important point. Now, there are different ways to overcome this challenge. One is to exchange. So what we have done is, my father, he is an expert in this, was he buys land which people don't want, deep in the jungle because he had planned far ahead. Now, we have land in a different area, and some other people have land in that area. ours was better, theirs was worse. But since my dad has a plan, let's exchange this. And so he pushed those farmlands together by exchanging with our scattered land. You may have clan land which are not divided yet, but on lease, perhaps it's possible. Another way to overcome this is by high density farming. This is a very interesting concept. See, in this whole size, if it was a conventional orchard, only so many fruit trees can come in. But what if you can grow a fruit tree every 3 feet instead of 15 feet? And you manage its size so that they don't crisscross. But in that high density, means too close to each other, but you feed the plants, you maintain the shape, and then not so big, so you manage it well, you get a good harvest. Very much possible. And this is where we should also go. Many are doing this in northern India. Now, land. People don't sell land to us anymore. We hear that very often. Deep in the jungle, where people don't want, where the road has not reached. Now, if you can go and buy that, being very futuristic, because land is very cheap there even now, still cheap. So it's almost getting late. We have to hurry, okay? If you want to buy land, no, in that type of situation for the future. So I am telling you, if you don't have land, now it's a good time to buy land which people don't want. But I don't have capital. No? The rich kids, they have huge capital or inherited wealth to start with, but I don't have. And if I say this now, people also may think that, oh, his dad placed it in his hands. But what I've experienced is that we cannot run ahead of our experience, and we have to start small. This is where I often clash with my dad in terms of the approach. That he wants to have like 10,000 trees in one go. And after 5 years, when it starts to bear fruit, and you find that it's not suitable or there's no market for this, so sorry. So to start small, because this is a marathon race, not a 100-meter sprint. Farming always takes time. And therefore, when people ask me, I say, like, my savings are all underground. Like, they are buried underground still. Market. No? The market has never been better. But marketing is the most difficult part. Producing is the easier part. Marketing is the difficult part. Therefore, marketing, to be able to sell your story. Now, when we talk about diversified family farm, then that messaging, marketing becomes really crucial. And therefore, this kind of skills also, it's something to be learned, something to be tried over to work hard at marketing. This really is a challenge. More than land, more than capital, marketing is the major challenge. We do have power supply problem in our place. Accessibility, although it has much improved, it's still much to be desired in terms of road connectivity or even internet connectivity. But still, we are very happy with the progress which we have now. I was talking before about research, that we do not research properly before we grow things. This happened to a Chekasang group of friends. What I heard was that they wanted to capture the poultry market in Kohima. And it became a joke later on. So, see, I also had this impression, okay, that ducks will not sell. I will not rear ducks because I don't eat ducks. If you ask some other Chakasang friends, perhaps they will also say, oh, only during childbirth or when people get sick, they eat ducks. So maybe duck farming is not good. It will not sell. But when you talk to an Angami, you may get a very different response like, oh, ducks, how can you not sell? No? But here the research, the important thing is like, okay, behind box cutting, there are women who are selling ducks every day by the roadside. When you ask them, are you able to sell ducks? That is a very, very good source of information for your research, right? We have to do that. Now, when I did that, I was surprised to learn that ducks sell more than local chicken. Well, my God, what? So we have to do research before we grow things, right? And then this mindset, the mindset of us, no, that we have to have this notion that this is not a time pass, that I'm doing this for my livelihood, that this is just like opening a business. And therefore, I must look at my farm as a kind of business. How I would approach opening a pawn shop where I take into account what is coming in and what is going out. The labor that I put in, if I don't do this calculation, then I cannot succeed. I have come to the conclusion that throwing money at a farm cannot make it work. I have made lots of mistakes. So this mindset and also the generational clashes which I was talking about, that in this kind of diversified family farm, we have to approach carefully at how we deal with people. The mindset, no? So as we talk about farming as kind of getting away from people, that we don't want to deal with people. But when we talk about business, then you say customer is king, or we have to have good relation, that building relation with customers is important. And so the mindset that we have to become a farmer also, of course, it's not straightforward, but we have to really have a mind to learn that we have to be people friendly, and all these things are so important. Next. Okay. So lastly, reflections. Many of these are already covered. Reflections like homestead. How many of you know homestead and see YouTube videos about homestead, say in the Americas? Okay, a family leaving a corporate job and living by the countryside, growing their own food, backyard they have a kind of poultry, and then they are harvesting their own food and enjoying it, no? A kind of lifestyle. So beautiful and romantic, so nice, right? And then farmstead goes a little more of course, that type of lifestyle, but you also grow for the market where you have more quantity. Such kind of farmstead. I lead a hybrid life. I am based still in Kohima. I go to the farm and work 3 days a week and come back Saturday night. But I spend the rest of the time with my family. I do school duties from Monday to Thursday. So that lifestyle that you want, huh, would also determine what you would plan for your farm. And it is an exciting time, because, okay, I am lazy today, I want to rest. The time, it's up to me. I want to work, this I have at hand now. I will work and devote my time. So such flexibility of lifestyle, it's something very appealing, right? Now, we live in the hills, we live in the mountains. We are all, by definition, small farmers. And therefore, if we are to grow for the global market, if we are to sell our produce with the outside world, we have to cooperate instead of compete. And therefore, if I'm growing persimmon, you are growing persimmon, you are not my enemy, you are my friend. The same thing happened in Fitzgerald, okay, like kiwi. Nah? There was not a time when the whole farmers in that area came and said, let us grow kiwi together. No, nothing happened like that. But somehow, small growers those who can harvest 100 kg, 500 kg, 1000 kg, 3000 kg, all came together. And that's how volume came up. And volume is key. Now, trucks from mainland India, UP, Delhi, they will not come if they cannot get a truckload. So, cooperative marketing, how beautiful it is, no? That we must come together because we are all, by definition, small farmers. And then contract farming, like, okay, I grow this, but will it sell? But before even growing, there is a contract with, say, a food processing unit. So, for example, even a Chakasan food processing unit in Chumukidima, if you grow this, we'll buy everything, but we're not able to grow. And on the other side, farmers will be saying like, growing is not difficult, but how can I sell? To connect this together, by an agreement beforehand, MOU, agreement signed, legally bound that I cannot sell elsewhere at a higher price, but I'm also assured of the market. This contract marketing is also something so appealing, okay? This we can do. And then the kind of kitchen garden revolution, no, which we can have, that everybody's growing at least some of their own food. Now, I've talked about this farming as a kind of career option for the future. And I was talking about primary, secondary, and tertiary sector employment opportunities in Nagaland. If we come together, if we do it together, the young generation, then a person can have a salaried job through farming without being a farmer. How nice it'll be. Now, even in this present setup, farmers are there, buyers are there. There is no one in between to connect. We need agri-entrepreneurs who are not farmers, who are not retailers, but who are in between. And in between, we have a bad name of middlemen who takes cuts and exploit. But an educated youth who would come in between and help our farmers, but also earn livelihood there and could have a profession out of it. So these are some things which are still in our wish list, but has not come to fruition. And this is something which I would appeal to all of you, that perhaps not all of you can be in the farming sector. It's impossible for me to expect that for all of you. But if at least some of you here, if you are interested, then perhaps we can join together. I'm always looking for like-minded young people who are interested in farming. And some people say like, you want people to quit their job all the time. But of course, that is not for everyone. Farming is not for everyone because we have to combat flies and mosquitoes, long earthworms, which are like this much long, no? The jungle and all these things are there through sweat, and there are so many challenges. But also at the end of the day, if we continue at it, then not only the destination, but even the journey is beautiful and enjoyable. I want to leave you with that. Thank you.